Is air travel back to normal? The Transportation Security Administration saying that airport screenings have climbed above 2019 levels for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic. Here's a look at the U.S. Global Jets ETF bouncing back after pandemic lows, but still off its all-time high of about $34 a share. Joining us now is Helane Becker, Cowen Airline analyst. Helane, great to see you.
Hi, Melissa.
Certainly, it is a holiday weekend, so travel is up. Business travel hasn't resumed. So what is your outlook for a baseline travel recovery here?
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for the question. We basically think that we've seen about as good as it's going to get without more international and business traffic coming back. The fact that we're above pre-pandemic levels on some days just means to us that domestic leisure traffic is very strong, number one. And number two, a lot of people who might have gone to Europe this summer are staying domestic. And at this point, we think it's going to be really difficult to get back to those 2.5 to 3.2 million passengers per day that we saw pre-pandemic on busy summer days. So, we think pricing will start to move higher, actually, and we should have a pretty good summer. Whether there's legs to it or not after Labor Day is another question.
So in that context, Helane, I'm wondering what you think of, for instance, United Airlines plans to increase the number of aircraft out there in the next 5 years, the massive spending plan it just announced, I think it was just last week. What scares airline investors in general, and I know you know this, is the sort of the boom-bust cycle. Things are looking good, airlines add a bunch of capacity, and then that bites investors in the you-know-what. And so when you take a look at what's going on, are you concerned at all that we're falling back into that pattern?
Of course, yes. But the longer answer to that question really is that United has a relatively old fleet. They've got some of the original A320s from United that were delivered back in the 1990s. They've got 767s, 57s, 777s. And at some point, they were going to have to replace them. We were expecting a $20 to $30 billion CapEx program to be announced, and they came right in the middle of that. A lot of those aircraft that they're taking will be a replacement. And the other thing, too, is remember, they're going to their coastal hubs. In Newark and San Francisco really have no way to expand other than more seats per departure. In Newark, you've got, New Jersey Turnpike and a highway kind of on either side of it. At San Francisco, you've got the water and a highway. So the only way you're going to grow those two airports is by more seats per departure. So that means bigger planes. And that's really what they're doing here. I think that the plan, though, to your point, is, order aircraft at the top of the cycle, take delivery at the bottom. In this case, they're kind of doing it a little bit differently, but it speaks to sustainability. The aircraft that are coming in will replace aircraft that are older and less efficient. So there's probably a lot of good there. They're just doing it in this decade, whereas American did it in the last decade.
Do you think domestic airlines that are not as exposed to business travel, is that the way to go from an investing standpoint, seeing that business travel is a question mark, international travel is a question mark as well?
Yes, in the short term, we definitely agree with that. The longer term, though, at some point, business traffic will start to come back, probably after Labor Day, right? As people go back to school, people go back to work, we think they'll take some trips. And then international will come back probably in 2022.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.